welcome to a special episode of the Monday Morning Learning Podcast where we have Satya Gunampalli. I think good evening to you, Satya, and good morning to us here. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Ravi. How are you?
Absolutely good. Thank you. Thank you, Satya. Satya, a quick introduction to Satya. I think we'll do that, but let me just go over there's actually a series goal and objective, and whenever we have uh, a special guest and a special episode, we have a title. So it is Reimagining Work Responsibly, AI for Human First Future, and where technology transforms with empathy. That is the tagline. So in terms of the goal objectives for the audience, Satya, we're going to explore how AI first thinking is transforming business, culture, and leadership. We look at understand the intersection of AI, organizational strategy, and human adaptability on the second theme. Inspire ethical, scalable, and inclusive AI adoption across industries, and decode the mindset shifts needed to lead in human-less AI era. So in terms of the themes, Satya, we have five of them. The AI first mindset, human in the loop, building AI operating models at scale, bridging the boardroom and the code base, and finally, Gen AI education and the future of learning. So coming
Mhm.
to your introduction, Satya, for the audience, Satya specializes in transforming teams and organizations through AI first thinking, a mindset that approach embeds AI at the core of every business process, product, and decisioning. By reimagining workflows, enhancing customer experience, and automating repetitive tasks with Gen AI and intelligent systems, Satya helps businesses unlock tangible ROI through cost savings, fast execution, and data-driven innovation as such. He specializes in identifying high-impact AI use cases across departments like IT ops, customer service, HR, marketing, and finance, and guides organizations through AI maturity assessments, use case road mapping and ROI modeling, Gen AI adoption and LLM integration, AI tool selection and architecture planning, AI center of excellence setup and enablement, and change management and workforce upskilling. And it's got too much of introduction, so I'm just briefing it for the moment, Satya, for the audience
Mhm.
as such. Let's go with the first. And before I start off, Satya, just want to give you a bit of space. Any kind of warm welcome words or anything you want to say about the Monday Morning Learning Podcast?
Absolutely, Ravi. I think a couple of things I want to mention is I've been a very curious and exploratory learner for a long time, which basically means I like to learn as puzzle pieces, bits and pieces here, and put it all that together. So when ChatGPT came out in 2022, I was very curious about how these large language models are able to put together all these things. So went deep dive into that to understand all these deep neural networks and how they are trained, and what is the impact of that in overall jobs market and the education, and how corporations are going to use it. And surprisingly, the rate of change or rate of innovations in this particular space, as we have seen, is exponential, right? It is very hard to even catch up, even for the AI researcher that are involved into that. But hopefully, we can give some of the little bit of information to your viewers, so
Sure.
people get interested into these technologies.
Absolutely, Satya. Thank you. Thank you for that. Let's look at the first theme now, the AI first mindset from buzzword to business value. So a couple of questions, Satya, around what does it truly mean for an organization to think AI first? That's number one. And how can leaders identify the highest value use cases for AI without getting overwhelmed by tech jargon?
Okay. So if you think about AI first organizations, right? When Sundar Pichai took over Google in 2016, this is the first statement he actually said. He said, "We are going to be AI first organization," right? So what it means is every single product, every single service that they are going to develop, AI is going to be at the core of it, right? It is not at the edge of it, it is going to be at the core. That means you are going to build around AI.
Yeah.
Okay. Whereas organizations that are actually trying to put this as a simple tool or something like that at the edges, that is not AI first thinking, right? You have to actually use AI as the core of the operations, whatever it may be, whether it is marketing, whether it is IT operations, or your sales or HR operations. If you put AI at the core of your organization, you're going to rethink everything. That means the existing processes, you're not going to just say, okay, I have this 10-step process. I'm going to use AI in few of those steps. Instead of that, you're going to say, how do we use AI to reimagine this entire process? And that is where you are going to get the most benefit out of that.
Sure.
So companies that are forming today, there's another term used called AI native also. That means the companies that are started recently, whether it is an IT consulting firms or a startup company, they start thinking about AI as their core, right? The core
Yeah.
technology that they build around it. And of
Yeah.
course, all the startups are obviously building many of these AI technologies themselves. So they use it also at the same time, right? You know? Coming to your second question, right? How do organizations, what is the second question?
Second one is on how can leaders identify the highest value use cases for AI without getting overwhelmed by tech jargon?
Right. So fundamentally, I think as a business leaders, what we try to emphasize is don't look at organization values or what kind of technologies that you are going to bring into the organization, but look at what is the business value, what is the business problem that you are trying to solve today, right? And unless until you first define why you are doing something, you are not going to propagate that within the organization, because people won't understand, whoever is implementing the technologies, they need to understand the why first, and then you can get into the how aspect of that. So the way business leaders have to think, especially at this particular stage, is technology is actually evolving super fast. So there are so many new things are happening, new frameworks are coming, every day new models are coming. So rather than focusing on the technology, focus on the value that they want to create from that particular technology, and go with actually the least friction. Don't take some complex problem and try to implement a complex solution, because most likely you will fail in that particular one, and then people will say, hey, this AI is not going to work, right? So take the simplest use cases that are going to give the maximum benefit to the people, because within your
Absolutely.
organization, and we also emphasize that first implement it for the internal employees, right?
Yeah.
As the internal employees start adopting these technologies, they'll feel more comfortable. And most of the people are already using it as consumers, right? Everybody is using ChatGPT, everybody is using Gemini these days. Once you
Yeah.
are able to integrate these technologies internally within your organization, within your data, people will see the benefit, and you can use that within your internal employees and try to take it out of your to your customers and everybody later.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Satya. I was basically getting inquisitive, Satya. I actually see that you've done your, I think, engineering at Birla Institute of Technology, BITS Pilani, I guess, back in 88, 92. Can you take us through how exactly your career shaped, Satya? I'll ask you the questions maybe a bit later.
Sure. So I actually graduated in 92 from BITS Pilani.
Yeah.
From there, I worked in Bangalore until 97. Even in during college days, I actually learned Unix and C just by exploring on the machine and playing around. Um, and that stayed with me, and the same technologies that I learned at that particular time, I was able to build career on that. So I moved to United States in 97, and at the time I worked for Sun Microsystems for some times, and then Fidelity Investments, primarily in IT infrastructure and everything. And then once cloud came into the picture, we actually moved into Dallas area in 2008.
Okay.
Since that time, I worked for American Airlines, Verizon Corporation, Sabre, and everything, primarily in the cloud technologies and trying to develop digital transformation for many of the legacy applications and everything. And since 2022, I started the G5 Infotech to focus on this Gen AI technologies, and also have a foundation called Sunrise Foundation, trying to help the students learn this AI literacy and propagate this technology for parents and teachers and educators.
Absolutely, Satya. Thank you for that. I think maybe some towards the end of the podcast, I actually want you to maybe talk a bit more of the Sunrise Foundation in terms of the value vision and what exactly you want to execute there.
Sure.
So coming to the second theme of the human in the loop, responsible AI and real outcomes. How do we ensure that AI adoption doesn't lose sight of the human experience? And can you share a time when human intuition outperformed the algorithm and what it taught you, Satya?
Right. So before I answer that question, I want people to understand different layers of knowledge, right?
Sure.
Typically, when we talk about somebody knows something, right? That is the basic level of knowledge at the base foundational layer, right?
Mm.
And many times, sometimes people are able to repeat what they learned, but they don't actually understand it. So we can
Yeah.
say the next layer of that is whether people actually understand what they learned about, right? So
Mm.
that's how you can take it as a level one knowledge.
Sure.
Once people understand it, can they apply that particular knowledge, right,
Mm.
into a specific situation? And application of the knowledge is where a lot of times, that is what we are actually trained for, right? You've got to be able to
Yeah.
learn everything in your school and college, and then being able to apply it in your real world, whatever
Yeah.
it may be the case. And then further outside that applying, there is a little bit of more complexity around analysis, right? Being able to understand a lot of huge data and analyze it,
Mm.
and have some kind of a critical thinking, you know
Ah.
being able to judge whether particular data is valid or not valid, or do I need to go get additional data, these kind of
Mm.
stuff, right?
Sure.
And then beyond that is basically discovering, and creating new knowledge or coming out with novel ideas and innovations and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
Today, these large language models that are trained on about 8 to 10 million books, entire internet, Wikipedia, everything, right?
Mm.
We usually call it in terms of tokens, which is like three-fourths of a word. That is 16
Mm.
trillion to 30 trillion tokens, that much of knowledge, right?
Mm.
If a human being had to read, one book a week, that is about 52 books in a year, right? And in 30 years, you are going to read approximately maybe 1,500 to 2,000 books maximum.
Yeah.
Now, imagine this entity that has read 10 million books, right?
Wow.
And not only read that many 10 million books, it understands it, it is able to analyze that information, and it is
Mm.
able to actually apply that information also,
Mm.
which is what most of the people, if you're actually going to just ask ChatGPT a simple question, that you are using it as a replacement to Google, right?
Mm. Mm.
But if you give your own context, right, you provide your own resume, maybe, or your own health data, maybe, or your own financial data, and
Mm.
it can actually apply it into your context and help you in whatever questions you have, right?
Right.
This is what most people miss out about the context, right?
Mm.
And in
Mm.
fact, one of my experiment I did with my friend was we had this long conversation for an hour, about Gen AI use cases and technologies and everything.
Mm.
Next day, I gave the recording to one of the AI tools, Claude, and it was able to not only summarize it and provide the key points, which is known use case. Later, I asked her, can you actually identify or tell the personalities of the two people talking?
Mm.
Right? And AI was able to actually understand the personality of each one of us,
Wow.
and we did not even refer, normally when I record it on the phone, it puts it as speaker one and speaker two. It was able
Mm.
to figure out the names also because we were referring each other with our names, right?
Wow.
The next day I asked, can you provide me feedback for me? Right? What kind of
Mm.
feedback you can get out of that. And that
Mm.
feedback was about 2 pages, categorized by different sections. And what are the strong points? What are the weaknesses? How you can improve it? Everything is
Mm.
given. And when I
Mm.
showed that particular feedback to a lot of my friends and everything, they say even the best executive coach would not be able to
Mm.
give you such feedback, right?
Excellent.
Because we human beings, sitting on a call, sometimes we listen, sometimes we don't listen. AI doesn't
Yeah.
have that problem. It listens
Yeah.
everything, it records everything, and it is able to
Mm.
analyze all that kind of stuff, right? So
Absolutely.
that is the kind of capabilities it has. But
Mm.
today, human beings still have edge in terms of creativity, in terms of intuition, and in terms of judgment, right? These are the
Yeah.
things the AI is still not there completely, right? And those kind of scenarios, that is what we call it as human plus AI, right?
Yeah.
Everybody should learn all these AI tools, and they should figure out what it is good at, what its weaknesses are, and where to use, because a lot of times people say AI hallucinates a lot, right? Which is actually a feature if you think about it, because if you're trying to write a movie script or a story, hallucination is good, right? You got to come up with imaginative answers and everything like that, right?
Yeah.
So it does an extremely good job of that kind of stuff, right? But whereas if you want any factual data or anything like that, today's tools are able to go search the web, right? If you want to figure out, like, say, you can even ask, like, what did Prime Minister Narendra Modi did this week, right? It goes to the web, searches, finds that information, and gives you the very valid answer as well as sources also, right? Perplexity is one of the company that is started by Arvind Srinivas. They started this kind of approach in the very beginning, and that's why that
Right.
company got successful. I think it's valued around $30 billion today, and try to take some of the Google's search business into that, right?
Absolutely.
But some of the other models that are coming out, they are able to innovate as well. There are special models that Google has created called Alpha Evolve, Alpha Fold. Some of these things are actually encroaching even into that level of innovation. So it is not as creative as human beings, because it's more like a brute force type of stuff with some clever algorithms and clever techniques. But human intuition certainly is quite important. So most of the times what is happening is people are using these AI models, people are using these AI outputs to enhance their own thinking, right?
Absolutely.
One example I will give you is, let's say you have a business plan, right? You take your business plan and you want to get some feedback, and you ask some 10 people, and everybody will tell you that they don't have time to read your business plan and give you that, right? You
Yeah.
could just upload that business plan to ChatGPT or Gemini or one of the tools, and say, assume the persona of one of your well-known business guru, or you can say Steve Jobs, or you can say Narayan Murthy or Ajim Premji, because some of these people have already written some books. The system knows about them, right? And
Yeah.
it assumes
Yeah.
their personality, and you can say provide the feedback from their angle, right? And it
Absolutely.
is extremely good at putting those lens and provide you that particular feedback. We humans cannot do that, actually, right? We always think
Yeah.
in terms of our own viewpoints and everything like that. So
Yes.
I encourage everybody, you can even say, like, hey, there are 5 people who want to start a business, and create fictional roles for each one of those 5 people and create conversations on them, right? And it
Right.
creates this absolutely beautiful conversation saying that one person is it will even create some names. Person is the Srikanth, he's the CEO. Next person is CTO, he has this background, and create these beautiful conversations. And what it
Right.
does for you is, it is like you are sitting in a room full of experts, and you are listening to those conversations, and it will
Yeah.
help you to think in terms of a different perspective, right?
Absolutely.
And those are all the
Absolutely.
things these AI tools are extremely good at. But again, they cannot go start their own company. They
Yeah.
cannot become their own CEOs yet, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully they don't become. Yeah, you know.
Now, very, very interesting, Satya. I'm very tempted to ask another question. Now, we have a lot of students and young professionals at the
Mhm.
same time, professionals who are over 50 years of age, who have actually recently moved out of companies. And that's been a struggle for each of these segments have their own issues. Now, AI can be a solution there. So, can you list us top five AI tools that every student has to actually learn and use it? How exactly they can use it? That will be helpful for the three segments. I think three segments might actually have five different tools, but I'll leave it to you.
Right. No, absolutely right. ChatGPT is actually great for text, right? Language. And remember, these languages are not just English, right? They know all the languages pretty much, right?
Mm,
You can ask it in English and it will give it to you in Telugu or Hindi or whatever, or you can ask it in Telugu and it will give it to you in English. So all kinds of
mm,
stuff is available like that, right?
yeah.
And Google Gemini is extremely good right now. The way I use Google Gemini and all these tools, there is something called deep research. Students
Mm,
especially should pay a lot of attention to that, because when you do a deep research in Perplexity or Gemini or ChatGPT, whatever is your prompt, and don't give like one sentence prompt or two sentence prompt, give it at least a paragraph so you get a good amount of context in there, right? The
mm,
context is very important. This deep research, what it does is it goes out to the internet, searches the web on your behalf, and it's not just one or two websites, it actually searches approximately hundreds of web pages
mm,
and figures out what is the relevant information that it needs to pick up from those web pages, analyzes them, and puts them all together into a 30-page report. Very nicely written, proper ordering from executive summary to everything that you wanted, right? Yeah. And
mm,
everybody can use it. It's actually free, there's no
mm,
cost to it or anything like that.
mm,
And because it is doing through the web searches, especially Google is already very good with the web search, it can actually figure out what are the good websites to look at, what are the website it should avoid, right?
ah, yeah.
So it gets all the good information on any topic. Obviously, web has all the information and everything, right?
Mm,
And that becomes your source information, right? And
mm,
from that source information, you can actually create web pages, you can create infographics. All those things are also available in Google Gemini.
right,
Another tool that I encourage students should be using 100% is called notebooklm.google.com. Okay.
right.
Uh, what it does again is you can upload any textbook in a PDF format or any document you have, or just now I said you have a 30-page report already created through a deep
Mm,
research, right? You can give
mm,
all this to Notebook LM. It can create quiz. It can create mind maps.
right.
So topic by topic, it will create a mind map. You can explore it that way. And it can
Mm,
also create podcast, two people talking, like as if we are talking together. It
mm,
actually creates a very natural language, two people talking, and it gives you absolutely. Some people like to listen, right? They don't like to read or something like that. So this podcast, and I think a couple of months ago, they actually added about 50 languages. So if you go to the settings and click on language setting, you can
mm,
select Hindi, Tamil, Telugu, whatever. And
mm,
I tried some of the Indian languages, and they're very natural. Actually, I was expecting these things are going to come out more robotic or anything like that.
mm,
But they trained it with all the natural data that they were able to procure, collect it, and it is coming out
mm.
extremely good, actually. So
Excellent.
even if you have an English document, right, you can
Mm,
actually pass it to the notebooklm.google.com, and you can
mm.
create the podcast in Telugu or Hindi or whatever language you like.
Wow,
And
excellent.
that's I think students should be using it 100%. And in next few months, Google is going to actually enable explainer videos also to be created from that.
Wow, excellent.
So yeah.
Any specific tools for people who have just got into their careers?
Um, Again, these are all the tools that can be used for the people who wants to actually like prepare for an interview or something like that.
Yeah.
There is a company called Mercor.com. They actually have multiple interviews, predefined interviews. You just upload your resume, and
Mm,
AI will take your interview for about 20 minutes, right?
wow.
And it is not like it is giving asking the same questions to everybody. These questions are
Mm,
customized based on your resume, your background, and you can even specify I'm trying to apply for this particular job. And
mm,
there are
mm,
some specific jobs that they have already created. For example,
mm,
if you are going for a finance, you can select that particular one, or you are going for an IT type of a job, you can select those things. So they're all available on their website, mercor.com.
sure.
The other things that career focused guys should be learning is deep learning.ai if they really want to learn AI much deeper. This is started by the Coursera. Coursera is one of the companies that was started by Andrew Ng back in 2012. He's one of those few hundred people who actually created some of these AI technologies, right? He graduated from Stanford, from PhD and everything. And all these courses are free, deeplearning.ai. People should be exploring those things if you really want to build a career in AI, especially, and prompt engineering, how to build the context properly, right? How to use the LLMs, how to build agents, right? This year,
Yeah.
especially in 2025, chat GPT and all these things, they can actually just give you question and answers kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
But AI agents are going to perform some tasks for you. That means I can say, hey, I'm interested in buying a pair of shoes for $50 or below, right? An AI agent will go find out all the information and tell that, hey, I found these shoes available. This is the preference you asked for me. Would you like me to go place the order? And all you
Yeah.
have to say is yes, and it will place the order for you, right?
Yeah.
So companies are already using these type of technologies to automate their workflows. A lot of those things like that. And next level, especially in the coding, AI agents are going to do in the next 1 year about 90% of the code. Right now, Microsoft, Meta, Salesforce, all these companies are telling they are doing about 30% to 50% of the code. And in the next 1 year, it is going to be closer to 90%. And this is again, these agents don't write like an average code, right?
Right.
These LLMs are capable of creating code at the top 200 people right now in the world,
Yeah.
and recently the Google model as well as OpenAI model, it was able to beat the International Math Olympiad at the gold medal level.
Wow.
And these are some of the toughest questions, right? So the
Absolutely.
latest frontier models are performing at the PhD level. So they take the PhD questions and answer it. Some of these questions, like very few people even can understand the question.
Yeah.
And to validate the answer, even within OpenAI, they have some specialists, right? You need some special person who knows mathematics, or has a PhD in mathematics or a PhD in physics to answer these type of questions, right?
Yeah.
So of course, students and people who are interested, who are doing research into those things, should be using all these tools.
Absolutely. Just being persistent on the people who are 50 or above. So the context basically, Satya, is that a lot of layoffs across the world. If you really look at top companies and across companies, people are being laid off. Uh, the guys who are 20s, 30s, even 40s are able to find jobs. The guys who are 50s and more are literally struggling. That's been my observation. The data also
Yeah,
backs it.
I
Now,
agree.
with that context, Satya, how can AI tools or which AI tools should these kind of people, age group, can actually use, either to get a job or to reflect to see what else they can actually do in life? Do you have any specific tools, or you recommend only the tools which you have already listed?
Yeah. One recommendation for anybody is you should be using these AI tools at least an hour a day, minimum, right?
Right.
The reason is unless until you start using it, you don't understand the power of it, and you don't understand how to use it effectively, right? And as
Absolutely.
you keep using it, you will get better and better at it. So especially, and this is actually noticed by all the people within the OpenAI, Sam Altman also said younger people are able to use it a lot easier because it comes a little bit naturally for them. They're digital native and everything like that.
Yeah.
And as you see, older people like 40s and 50s, they're still using it as like a replacement to Google. Just ask one question and whatever answer. But you should be chatting with it continuously, right? Keep building. When you chat continuously, what happens is you are keep building the context. For
Right.
example, talk to you a few times, right? And I'll get to know you better. right?
Yes.
And same thing, like if I talk to somebody only for 5 minutes, I don't know much about that person, right?
Yeah.
But if I talk to him for an hour and ask him different questions, and they share their experiences and I share my experiences, we get to know each other better, right?
Hmm.
So same thing happens with these LLMs or chat interfaces, right? Chat GPT, especially now, previously it used to know everything in a single context or single chat, right? You start a
Hmm.
chat and you continue it, and the longer and longer you go, the more and more it builds the context on top of it, right?
Absolutely.
But
Yeah.
in the last 6 months, they added long memory, right? Just like how
Hmm.
our human beings, I will remember you,
Hmm.
you will remember, right? And
Hmm.
we can
Hmm.
just bring up the long context with a friend that you met 10 years ago, also, right? Or your college
Yeah.
friend meets, and you will say, "Hey, remember we were talking about that particular movie or particular whatever, right?"
Yeah.
That is the level ChatGPT is getting there, right? This morning
Hmm.
itself, I actually asked ChatGPT, like, what should I focus on today?
Hmm.
Right? I got up, I
Hmm.
was having my coffee, and I said, what should I focus? That's all the question, right?
Hmm.
Because it knows all my past history and it knows my long term goals, it knows my long term objectives and everything. It lists
Yeah.
everything. It says, based on your long term thing, what you have told me, here are the main
Hmm.
things, you should focus and do it today, right? And that is a lot of cognitive work for us, right? Sometimes we
Absolutely.
just get up and our brains are not clear.
Hmm.
These are the use cases I think people definitely can use it, right? So the more especially people over 50, the more they use it, the system will
Hmm.
learn more about them. Of course, if you use ChatGPT and Gemini, they don't learn each other because they're from two different companies, right?
Hmm.
But again, Google also has an option of personalization based on your search history and everything like that.
Sure.
Um, yeah, but I would encourage everybody to keep using these tools as much as possible, at least an hour a day, and that's what
Hmm.
everybody is recommending. And even all the top leaders in Microsoft, like Satya Nadella, Sam Altman, or Jensen, everybody is,
Hmm.
when you ask, like, what is your most use case for these tools, everybody says we use it for learning, right? And Jensen Wang goes even further. He says, even if I know the answer, I ask these tools again because
Hmm.
they actually, like, we might be able to think about one way of answering it. They will answer it
Hmm.
in different ways and very long
Yeah.
answer. And
Hmm.
he has tools where he doesn't even ask like one tool, he will ask like 4 or 5 different models,
Wow.
right?
Okay. Great.
That way he can compare, right? He can compare and see what is good and everything like that. So that's
Absolutely.
another way to do that. You just ask the question to ChatGPT, cut and paste that to same thing to Gemini, cut and paste that to
Hmm.
Chat Perplexity, and see the
Hmm.
differences, how it works and all, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Satya. I think this helps a lot, really. And I'll close this particular dialogue with one other request. Now, they are licensed versions of, let's say, ChatGPT Plus. And for us here in India, it's around 1600, 1700 change per month. And I can see so much of value, so I actually use it. Would you have any such recommendations in terms of who should be going for licensed versions? And I know the cost is different in US and India, but at least we have a ballpark figure for people to understand.
Okay. So actually, they don't use it the term licensed in the sense it is actually just a tiered versions, right? You have a free tier, you have a plus
Yeah,
version, and there is a max version or something like that.
yeah.
There is no difference actually within any of those things, right? If you are actually
Mm,
using it only for a limited usage, free
mm,
version is good enough for a lot of people.
mm,
Um, because what it does is it gives you certain limits, right? If you
yeah,
try to generate like 10 images or something like that, it says, hey, you exceeded your image generation, come back tomorrow, right?
yeah, yeah.
But you can go to Gemini and generate the images there, right? You can go to Perplexity, you can go to copilot.microsoft.com and generate it, right?
Mm,
So most of the time you can get a lot of use from just the free version itself,
sure.
um, and again, the $200 version, very few people are subscribing it, especially Silicon Valley technology guys and everything, which are using it for code generation and things like that. But
Mm,
for most of the students, I think Perplexity is already giving it for free in for students in India. Google Gemini is also giving it for free. But I've seen it, it's already available. You can generate videos, you can generate all this. Notebook LM is free too, take advantage of these things. And I don't think you really need to pay for it
Sure.
unless until you are running into that limits every day, and
Right.
if it is frustrating to you, then you decide about paying for the version. Yeah.
Sure. So, Satya, thanks so much. So we're coming back to the theme now. The third one is on building AI operating models that scale, Satya. So the questions are around what frameworks or principles do you use to design scalable, resilient AI systems in large enterprises? That's number one. And how do you balance speed of AI adoption with long-term governance and ethical considerations, according to you?
So in the enterprises, one of the major problems today is the quality of data, right?
Right.
So corporations that have invested very well into their data platforms, they're doing extremely good because their data is well organized. There are two types of data in the corporations, right? There is the structured data, there is unstructured data. All
Yeah.
the PDFs, all the invoices, all the Word documents, they're all unstructured data, right?
Yeah.
Structured data has been very mostly well, the customer interactions maybe or any databases you have and all is fairly in a good shape. Unstructured data is sitting in a lot of silos in different places, right?
Right.
Taking all the structured and unstructured data and putting it all together so your chatbot or your AI agent knows your company's context, right?
Yeah.
Which is very important. So getting your data layer extremely is very important to be able to scale it, because every organization will have a lot of AI agents, not one or two, hundreds.
Absolutely.
Some of the companies that have already implemented it, they're talking about having 800 agents in their company,
Wow.
right? When you want to get to that level of AI transformation within your organization, you got to get your data layer right. And once your data layer is right, then you will have your AI agents or chatbots to be able to access it, right? I'll give you one
Absolutely.
example. If you take IBM recently laid off about 8,000 of their HR personnel, right? People who would just answer simple HR questions, because they implemented a chatbot, that people can ask questions, and those questions are not generic, obviously, right? It knows everything about you. It knows your internal information. It knows when you joined. It knows all your performance history. It knows your vacation information, all that kind of stuff. So you will be able to say like, hey, I'm trying to take this much vacation for 4 weeks, right? Or 3 weeks. Would I be able to do that? What is the company policy? And the system will come back. It will go search for all your information, how much vacation you have already used in that year, figure out that and answer based on that, saying that, hey, you already used up 2 weeks this year. You don't have 4 weeks left, right?
Yeah.
And to be able to do that, it has to get to that data.
Absolutely.
Without knowing that particular data, it won't be able to do that. So to scale any of these AI agents and chatbots within the company, all your data should be perfectly there, and access, and again, authentication is also quite important, because if you create your AI agents to be able to access all the data, people might be able to say, hey, what is the salary for so and so person? You shouldn't be able to get that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
People should not be able to get that particular data. So there's a good amount of authentication and roles and all those things also to be governed. Right? So that governance
Absolutely.
framework is quite important as well.
Sure. Sure. Sure, Satya. Thank you. So moving to the bridging the boardroom and the code base theme, Satya, as a fractional CIO and advisor to CEOs and CIOs, how do you align strategic intent with ground level execution? And what's the biggest cultural barrier to tech transformation, and how do you dismantle it, Satya?
So I'll start with the cultural barrier, right?
Sure.
Anytime new technologies comes in, people have certain amount of inertia, right?
Yeah.
People won't jump in and start learning about it and everything like that. And with the AI, there is another problem also, because people fear that AI is going to replace the jobs,
Yes.
right? And that fear is definitely valid concern. It is because when you think about it, 90% of the customer service calls are going to be done by AI. right? When you call some 1-800 number or any company, AI is going to
Yeah.
answer. AI knows your number already. AI knows about you, so it will be able to give you the perfect answer, right away for your context. So if the company is currently has about 1,000 customer service representatives, right, they probably will be able to do this with 100 people. What will happen to the rest of the 900 people,
Yeah.
right? So if you try to implement this, if the CEO comes and says we're going to implement this AI customer service technology, and all 900 people are going to lose the job, there will be resistance, right? There will be
Yeah.
resistance and concerns and everything like that. So one of the ways this is done is the Dropbox CEO. What they have done is they encourage every employee to use AI. And not only that, the teams that are using AI most efficiently and most effectively, their budget actually goes up,
Uh,
right? That's a very good way of thinking, because instead of saying, hey, you're already using AI, I'm going to cut your team size from 10 to 5. They're saying, actually, I'm going to give you more money because you're doing a lot of, you're already using AI very well. So go figure
Great.
out how you can actually do more, right? More of your internal operations or better quality, or try to figure out if it is a marketing team, how can you generate better marketing content and reach out more audiences, right?
Absolutely.
So all this type of stuff. So companies, what they have to do is they'll have to reinvest all the time that employees are saving due to the productivity improvements and everything, and try to build additional services, additional business, grow the business in terms of that, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
That is one of the ways you can actually come out with these cultural barriers. And second option is once people start using these particular AI tools, they are not only cheaper, they are also better and faster, right?
Right.
We can upload actually a 700-page book to some of these chatbots, or a 2-hour video. You can just give your YouTube video link to ChatGPT or Gemini, and it can actually summarize the entire video for you. You can ask different questions on that. You can even ask questions like, hey, if in this particular podcast these two people are talking, but answer this question as if Mahatma Gandhi is answering, right?
Yeah.
Or Steve Jobs is answering, or how Satya might answer. So you are able to
Yeah.
take the same context from two podcasters, but you are able to extract a different kind of an answer, different kinds of stuff, as if Gandhi is answering, or Satya is answering, or Henry Ford is answering, whatever may be, right? So
Yeah.
that is the
Yeah.
type of stuff, and all these things happen within few seconds,
Absolutely.
right? So we cannot beat them on the speed, and at the same time the quality, right? Now everybody is saying, all of a sudden everybody is able to write at a very professional level, right? All the emails are great, and all the things are coming out good, right?
Yeah.
uh, that's okay, because if you think about it, going back like say 50, 60, 100 years, very few people used to read and write in India, right? My own father, he was only educated for the 6th grade, and you only able to write it in Telugu. But today, most of the people are literate, and but people still struggle to speak English and write in good English and everything like that, right?
Yeah.
You type anything in ChatGPT, or even it doesn't have to be good grammatically. You can make spelling mistakes, everything. The system
Yeah.
figures it out and say, just rewrite it better. It rewrites it.
Right. Yeah.
Most of the time on my Android phone, I have this Google Recorder. I record it, and it transcribes it right away. I take the transcription and give it, and just say rewrite it, and it will rewrite it beautifully. So it is a
Wow.
better way of even organizing our own thoughts. You know,
Absolutely.
Extremely useful that way too. Yeah.
Absolutely, Satya. Thanks so much. So, towards the last part of the podcast, Gen AI education, the future of learning is the theme. Tell us about the work you've been doing through the Sunrise Foundation, and how does it prepare youth for the human AI world? And how do we equip non-tech professionals and educators to adapt meaningfully to Gen AI disruptions, Satya?
So one of the major use cases again is everybody is talking about education is going to be completely transformed, And second use case is in healthcare, right? In fact, Vinod Khosla, who started Sun Microsystems, says 99% of the doctors won't be useful at all, and he also talks about teachers that way. But I think human connection is still important. I think teachers are going to be there, but rather than teaching the content, students are going to learn the content. Nobody can explain as good as ChatGPT, because it
Yeah.
not only explains in different ways. I can say, explain to me as if I'm 5 year old, right?
Yeah.
Explain to
Yeah.
me, as if I have PhD. It can immediately switch everything, or
Yeah.
I can say, just write a poem about it and it will give you in a form of a poem, right?
Absolutely.
No
Yeah.
human being can do that. We don't have that kind of skill set. So
Mm.
students are going to get absolutely a lot of value out of these tools, uh, any questions. And a lot of times people are busy also, right? When you're sitting in a classroom with 30 students, if every student have to ask question to the teacher is not going to be able to answer everything, right?
Yes.
Now you have this personalized tutor,
Mm.
and it's available on your mobile phone. It is available everywhere, and mobile phones are also become fairly cheap. That all the students will be able to use this particular technology. So, what is the role of the teacher going to be, right? Teacher's role is not going to provide content anymore, but they will become learning architects, or they become
Right.
mentors and coaches, right? So the AI tools also will be able to tell the teacher. There are already tools developed by like Khan Academy and other people, how your 30 students are performing.
Right.
Today, most of the teachers won't be able to tell how my 30 students or 40 students are performing, right?
Yeah.
These
Yeah.
AI tools can analyze everybody because they're using it on a daily basis and tell this student is already ahead, these students are lagging in this particular one. And so they can actually focus differently or have certain projects, right? Other important aspect is rather than focusing on individual subjects and everything, we should be focusing on project-based learning, right?
Right.
Have a team of students work on a specific project. Okay,
Mm.
think about, okay, we're going to create this website for this nonprofit, and this nonprofit is working on so and so areas, right?
Right.
Or we can talk about let's say in your particular town, how do we get rid of the plastic, right? Or how do we ensure everybody is actually recycling the plastic rather than throwing it away, right?
Yeah.
Students can use ChatGPT, explore the data, understand it, come out with their own presentations, their own videos, and try to promote that particular knowledge across the city, right? Or across the
Absolutely.
town. And
Yeah.
what it enhances is it enhances people's collaboration, communication skills, and the teamwork, right? And these are all
Yeah.
the stuff that schools are not able to teach today, right?
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
now teachers can focus on those type of stuff because their time is freed up. They don't
Absolutely.
have to give the content. And students, most of the time, teachers, we always used to tell that we have to teach it to the bell curve, right? In the bell
Yeah.
curve, there are students who are extremely good, and there are a lot of students who are in the middle, like the 80%, and then the 10% that the students are not able to catch up, right? And
Yeah.
teacher will always focus on the middle of the bell curve, right? Now they
Correct.
don't have to, because every student can learn at their own pace. You don't understand something, already people do that with YouTube videos, right? You don't
Yeah.
understand it, you rewind it, you play it one more time, or you
Mm.
pause it, and you can now take that video or whatever is the things, you can ask ChatGPT about it. So many
Mm.
different ways you can learn it, right? And
Absolutely.
that is the power of these technologies. So what we are trying to do in Sunrise Foundation is have a team of 6 to 9 students do exactly this type of project-based learning. And they will come to the online sessions to actually debate and discuss, right?
Great.
When you debate and discuss and present, your own knowledge becomes better,
Absolutely.
right? So these are
Yeah.
all the things that whatever we are not able to do in the traditional classroom, we're trying to do it in this particular structure. And
That's
we are
right.
also using the mentors who are not teachers but professionals. As you said, there are a lot of people who are losing jobs in their 50s and everything. Just 1 hour
Yeah.
a week, when you are working with these students and try to
Mm.
encourage them to do all this type of debate, discussion, and everything, it
Mm-hmm.
it gives you that not only that fulfillment, you're also learning, right?
Absolutely.
As I said, like everybody needs to learn this chat GPT and everything. So when you have this particular project, Going to the chat GPT and learning about it yourself along with the students is very encouraging and very motivational as well, right? Keeps your brain active.
Absolutely. I think Satya, I'm though loving it in terms of what you have said the last 15 minutes. The reason is that I think across a cross section of students, professionals who are just entering the corporates and also who are being laid off. These three segments, you actually covered the tools very, very beautifully. You gave the examples. They actually know which tool to use for what case, where to pay, where not to pay. So the guidance is amazing. I think a lot of people would love this particular podcast. I'm going to release a teaser straight away sometime later today. And going to release the entire episode maybe in a month and a half time, Satya. Thanks a lot for your time. I quickly want to wrap up by sharing the kind of themes that we have touched upon this particular podcast. We looked at the AI first mindset from buzzword to business value. We looked at the human in the loop, responsible AI, real outcomes, building AI operating models that scale, bridging the boardroom and the code base, Gen AI education and future of learning. And you gave a lot of personal examples in terms of how you actually use these AI tools. That's also going to help people a lot. So personally, I'm going to, I think, dump this particular video onto a YouTube private mode and then share across to all the professionals that I know who are being laid off. Because I think I don't want to wait for 1.5 months to release a full episode. Let them actually have access. Let them actually go through in case they have questions. They actually ask me and I'll route them through to you, Satya. So thanks a lot, I think, for your time. It's been a fantastic podcast, Satya. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Ravi. If anybody wants to actually have a live webinar to answer questions, I'll be more than happy to do that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much,
Thank
Satya.
you. Yeah, take care.